Okay, I'm going to make this video on, this is really has a lot to do with the COVID. This is in relation to the COVID. I made this before. I'm just one guy out there, but I'm kind of aware of stuff, okay? There's another guy out there, Texas Cash 3502. He just put a video out basically mimicking this book called Millennium Meltdown. I don't know if you can see that, but it's backwards. You might be able to find it on Google. If you do, that's fine. It's just Millennium Meltdown, Meltdown. It's by a guy named Grant R. Jeffrey. So Grant R. Geffrey. All right. Now, I'm going to reiterate something that was done in March. President Trump in March signed the executive, put us in national emergency. Sign a piece of paper that says America.inc is now in a national emergency. And what does that mean? On the same speech, he says it's been a pleasure serving the American people. And what does that mean? Does that mean he's not our president anymore? Answer, yes, he's not. Does that mean he's not in control of our nation anymore? Answer, yes, he is not. So who's in control of our nation? FEMA. FEMA's in control of our nation. Now look, this year was 1998 that this book was written. Okay, so what the most important thing about this year was that there was something called the Y2K. So in this book, what this author believed, which would be the trigger event for America. Okay, he was 22 years too early. Y2K came and went. But the executive orders going all the way back to President John F. Kennedy. Wow, huh? All right. Some of you guys that have been listening to this channel, you'll figure out that, you know, first of all, the COVID isn't happening. It's not really real as you guys think it is. It's just basically a benign bug. There's other things involved in it. So why are the schools shut down? Why is the DMV shut down? Okay? Why are all the businesses at quarter throttle instead of full throttle? Okay? Right? Why is the airport shut down? Why are they mandating and not legislating mask wearing? How can they get away with this? Here's how. So I'm going to read this, and anybody who wants to listen to this, they're welcome to do this, because this is what's coming. So some people ask how America could ever relinquish her sovereignty and join the coming world government in light of the safeguards provided by the U.S. Constitution. However, Congress has given the president powerful executive orders to enable him to seize total control over the U.S. government and the military forces and the economy in the event of a national emergency. It is obviously essential that the president have legal authority to direct and control resources of the nation to protect the citizens if America is ever attacked with nuclear weapons. Well, nuclear weapons? No. It's not about nuclear weapons. It's about what the first part said. It's essential that the president have legal authority to direct and control resources. How does he do it? A full-scale nuclear attack by Russia or China would therefore wipe out the military's command and control systems and disrupt much of the normal functioning of the government in America. It would be vital to the surviving political leadership of the United States retain the ability to control the government and the military of America. So they're thinking about continuity of government here. Okay. The range of almost dictatorial powers available in the United States to a United States president after he declares a national emergency equals the vast legal powers held by Adolf Hitler during his dictatorship in Germany. The existing emergency legislation allows the president to suspend the Constitution. And the executive emergency powers whenever he determines that the nation faces a national emergency. So he suspends the Constitution and suspends the executive powers. However, the term national emergency is not defined by law. Why? It is left solely to the president to determine what constitutes a national emergency. Let that sink in. The COVID created the context for the national emergency, and the crazy president, the president crazy enough to do this, no other president had the balls to do this, would have been President Trump. Consequently, these executive orders are a loaded gun that future president, and this is in 98, so a future president could use to establish a dictatorship and facilitate America joining a world government. Joining a world government. An emergency could be declared at any time in the future and to be used to enact legislation that Congress would never pass during normal times. The year 2000, computer prices would obviously create an enormous economic and infrastructure crisis that the president could have ample justification to declare a national emergency and impose martial law. Well, that didn't happen. 2000. 20 years later, in March, President Trump declared a national emergency. Now, what happens when a national emergency is declared? These are just some. There's a whole bunch of them, and I can't get to them all, but this is just some of the existing national emergency executive orders if a president could legally exercise during the declared national emergency. So, here they are. Get a pencil and paper. Write this down. Executive Order number 10995. The seizure of all print and electronic communications media in the United States. Executive Order number 10997. Seizure of all electronic power, fuels, and minerals, public and private. Executive Order number 10998. The seizure of all food supplies, resources, and public and private, including farms and equipment. Executive Order number 10999. The seizure of food supplies, or the seizure of the means of transportation, including cars, trucks, and any other vehicles, including control over highways, harbors, and waterways. Executive Order number 11000. The seizure of all American people for workforces under federal supervision. President Kennedy signed that one. Executive Order number 11001, seizure of all health, education, and welfare facilities, public and private. Executive Order number 11002, registration of every citizen by the Postmaster General for government service. 11003, the seizure of all airports and aircraft. 11004, the seizure of all housing and finance authorities, authority to establish a forced relocation designated areas that must be abandoned as unsafe, the establishment of new locations for population groups, and the building of new housing and public land. I'll read that again. The seizure of all housing and finance authorities, authority to establish forced relocation designated areas that must be abandoned as unsafe, the establishment of new locations for population groups, and the building of new housing or public land. Let that sink in. 11005. The seizure of all railroads, inland waterways, storage warehouses, public and private. 11051. The authorization of the Office of Emergency Planning to put the above orders into effect at times of increased internal tension and a financial crisis. So in 1969, right, that's 51 years ago, President Richard Nixon signed an executive order, and this, take your pencil, write this down, 11490, executive order, all right, which basically allows the president to suspend the Constitution and replace it with the national emergency, with martial law and a legal dictatorship during a national emergency. Martial law and a legal dictatorship during a national emergency. President Trump just signed a national emergency. Conservative writer Howard Bruff commented that the danger to freedom and democracy that exists in the establishment of these extra constitutional powers, Executive Order number 11490, okay, is real. And it lacks a crisis big enough and a president willing enough with the public aroused enough to permit it to be invoked. This is getting on 10 minutes. Anybody that's listening to this has got an attention span, and I congratulate them. But look, who's the president that's got the balls enough to do that? Well, that's your president. There's another executive order that you probably want to understand here. This is the executive order number 11921. It was signed by President Gerald Ford. It ordered the Federal Emergency Preparedness Agency, that would be FEPA, to plan the establishment of total governmental control and the production and distribution of energy, wages, salaries, credit, and currency flow from the American financial institutions during a future national emergency. This order gives the president control of the nation, and furthermore, the order declares that during the duration of the emergency, Congress cannot reassert political control, not even review the matter, for 6 months. In 1977, President Jimmy Carter signed FEPA, okay, with the expanded Federal Emergency Management Agency, which expanded the emergency powers. I'm going to make a part 2 to this. We're in martial law. And if you don't know it, you're going to find out. 12 Soul out.